Hello, welcome to part 2 of how to do profile milling in CATIA 3DExperience. Here I'm going to be going back over the steps real quick with just a different shaped part. Maybe you see how the profile works. Trying to cut this out and maybe going over some different tool stuff. So obviously here you can see I've made kind of a strange looking part. I just took, we can see right here in the sketch, I took a cube, kind of implanted a circle into it, and then chamfered those corners in right here. If you did just here, I'll show a quick example. Let me just make a new sketch. Say I make a sketch right here. One thing you do have to keep in mind, so if I just made the same rectangle and circle that I made. So right here you can see, here I'll even hide this. You can see right here, we would not be able to mill this without a lot of effort, because milling, a hard corner like this when you're trying to use something circular, like an end mill, say we have our little end mill coming in, here we go, right here. The end mill is really going to struggle to cut that corner, which is why in our final part, we chamfer that corner. So that's always something you want to think about is, making some of these sharp little corners. To get that realistically, we'd probably have to pick the part up and then rotate it, over, and that's going to add more steps, more machining time, and eventually be more expensive. So you always want to make sure that you're not making unnecessarily features that are going to end up costing you more money. So if we exit out this sketch, we can just get out of our way and then re-show that pad. So you can see those corners, instead of having just right angles that we'd have to take the part and probably pick it up in a fixture and move it, so then maybe put in a fixture like this, and then we got this right corner right here. Then we have to mill that little pocket out. Instead of doing that, we can just chamfer it and keep it so we can just do all this profiling in one pass. So what we're going to do, same as last time, over here prismatic machining, also already got our safety plane up, generic machine, boom, okay, rough stock. Now here's us making the rough stock, so we want to make sure that we can see our part body. So right in here, you do select 3D shape, select that part body. Yes, we do want to create a new one. Select that part body again. Then once again, we can see the stock. So it obviously makes the stock as small as it can, but we don't want to have this little line right here. At least just not right now, in case, this could be like a casting or something, and we want to make sure that this line is getting cleaned up, because you don't want to have this nice big circle and then have one little strip that's for whatever reason not finished off nicely. So what we can just do is we can just take X, add an inch to it, take Y, add an inch to it, and boom. Now everything is within that stock. And then obviously, like I said last time, if you're doing a facing pass on this, you can take this Z, move that Z up, and then you'd be able to put this in a vise, face it on the other side, and then you'd have a nice squared up part. But we'll just keep this to 2 since we're just not facing it, and then press OK. Make sure we got our rough stock right here. Then as usual, make sure that we hide it so we can select everything OK. Part operation, got our design part right here. Then obviously escape or double click that. Rough stock, go press on our rough stock. Safety plane, and we'll keep it to aluminum. Maybe we can put it on roughing this time. So then make ourselves another tool. So grab another end mill, and then for this, obviously since we're doing this outside, it does not really matter the diameter, just like I said last time. But we can see, maybe we make a little tiny end mill, and our part is about 2 inches in height, so we're going to want to make sure that we have more than 2 inches. So we have weird, probably realistically you would never ever ever want to use something like this. If you were cutting 2 inches deep, you'd probably want, heck, even more than half an inch, maybe. But usually half an inch is pretty standard in my experience. But just to see what it looks like, we'll throw in a little tiny 1/8 of an inch end mill. And then obviously we've got our heights right. I just always take the radius off just because we don't need one down at the bottom. Press OK. Close out of that tool creation tab. Hide our manufacturing view. not doing any feature recognition, go into our prismatic machining, go into our profile contouring, make sure that we're doing between two planes like we want to, go find our tool and select it. Don't want to keep searching because we already found it. Select that bottom plane, and we're not going to choose any optional stuff this time. Now obviously we got our tool, got our strategy, we're not going to be changing anything. You know, if depending on your material, some of this stuff, the material, finish, tooling can all kind of change this stuff. So maybe if you were cutting, I believe it's cast iron, you could do conventional for cast iron because of the way that it cuts just that top layer and kind of brings the chips out a little bit. It can be very good to cut cast iron because it's got that hardened surface. And obviously you're doing your finishing passes and your different kind of sequences. Just using a 3-axis mill, so we don't need to worry about any of that. And then we'll just throw in, once again, all of our macros. So retract, select that safety plane, clearance already to the safety plane, which we selected previously. Add these puppies in. And obviously, I'm not going to use any of these fancy ones because this is nothing fancy. We got our speeds and feeds up in here, which should be different from the last one. I've yet to actually go back and look, but these should be different now that we're doing roughing and not finishing. And then we'll simulate, and we can see our tiny little end mill come down. I'm like 99% sure this thing would snap the second it went to go drill through this. And then we can go in and look at our material, so as if it was really cutting into the stock. Another thing is, depending on the part you're doing, you might not want to be plunging the end mill straight down into the stock and then cutting it. You might want to, maybe have that part moved over to this corner. So maybe you're just dropping down outside of this stock and then just finishing up these corners and then cutting in, instead of like we'll see in this, plunging the end mill right down like a drill and then coming all inside, because you can kind of lighten your cutting load if you're just doing these sides, because you're not cutting straight into everything. But we can see it goes through, it makes those tiny, tiny little cuts and cleans out that whole part, and then you can pluck it. Another thing with this is obviously we don't need stock this big for this part. You can see all this is getting wasted, all this is getting wasted. Well, not wasted, but you don't need it. And sometimes before you machine stuff, somebody will bandsaw this off. But ideally, when you're getting the stock, you just don't even need to have that there. And what we can maybe do, actually, let me see, is we can exit this simulation. Let's press OK, and go to our part operation. Let's see, can we change the way that this rough stock is? So if we delete this rough stock, and then, now we're in part design. Here's us back into prismatic machining. So let's just do a quick little question of can we, so take our rough stock, select 3D shape, yep. So you can see here, realistically, we can take this just a little bit. So maybe if we can take that X, so X minimum, so maybe we can do X minimum, maybe minus 0.1, and now just bring that out a little bit. Same with Y minimum. This is Y minimum right here, you can see that, minus 0.1. And then Y max, we'll bring Y max out to, what is that, 5.1? And then we'll do Y max 5.1. And we can see now this is fully within, the part is fully contained within the stock, obviously other than the top and bottom faces. And now we're using a lot less, because we used to have a full inch off these. So now, we're saving weight, we're saving money, we're not scrapping all that stuff. So then we just hide this, and then part operation, grab our little info in here, grab our design part, grab our rough stock over here, make sure we hide that. I'll reselect the design part to make sure I didn't accidentally select the rough stock. And see, that's why I always say, make sure you hide that rough stock, because you probably just saw me do it. I selected the rough stock on accident because it wasn't hidden. But now when I select that part body, it'll be selecting the right thing. Select our safety plane right there, which we can see is above the part. And now we can just make our tool, and then we'll just real quick, 2.1, 0.5, 0. So that's good. Okay. Go away resource creation. Go away manufacturing view, programming, prismatic. And we can also just select it right down here. Profile contouring, between two planes. Select our tool. Boom. No. Bottom plane. Not going to select anything optional. Jump to our macros. And I'll go away. You can see that safety plane. And obviously, once you start getting more advanced with doing this kind of CAM software stuff in CATIA, you can just load in your macros instead of having to sit here and select them every time, which obviously would save you a lot of time. But we have not gotten to that part yet. So we got our macros, speeds and speeds are here. Strategy, we're not changing any of this stuff, and then we'll hit simulate. And now we can see, obviously it's doing the same thing, just going around and everything. But if we pop into that, we can see our stock. Bring this speed down. And we can see, look at that, look at how much less we're wasting now. Just from, obviously we're using a bigger end mill, but still, we only got 3 little parts. And you could just bandsaw right here, bandsaw right here, bandsaw right here, and then just go, maybe you have a little small part that you could use this for, or you can go send it back to recycling. And we're not having to, if I select it right here, you can see, we're not having to plunge down into a bunch of material, which will really wear on your end mill. We're just plunging down, ideally you plunge down off the side and then cut into it, but we're just coming down right onto that side of the part without having to wear our end mill down a bunch extra, maybe even risk breaking it. And then we can just go around, barely cutting any material right here, just clean it up. Go around through there. And same with the cleanup on this side, because there's only that 100 thou on this side of material that we're just cleaning up, keeping the chip and end mill load down. Yeah, and that's just a couple of tips how to change your stock size and everything in prismatic machining for CATIA, not V5, excuse me, CATIA 3DExperience. I hope you learned a little bit more, as always, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.